nutrition educators here for ASU. My name is Kayla.
I'm Jennifer.
And we're here to introduce you a new show on YouTube called Tasty Tuesdays. It'll air every Tuesday evening on the Sun Devil Fitness Complex YouTube page. And we'll be able to show you a bunch of different recipes like
we'll be doing recipes like vegetable soup, which is what we're doing today. We can do anything from snacks to desserts to seasonal favorites.
So let's just jump right into this episode of vegetable soup. These are the ingredients that you're going to need.
Vegetable broth, tomato juice, celery, potato, tomato, onion, garlic, olive oil, sea salt, and black pepper. Equipment that you'll need is a large soup pot, a spoon to stir, a knife and cutting board, and measuring spoons and measuring cups. Step one, we're going to wash our celery. Celery at the root especially is going to have some dirt in it and we don't want to eat that. I'm going to take about 2 and rinse them off with water.
It's always super important as you're washing your vegetables, just to give it a nice little scrub with your hands. Any fruits or vegetables that you eat, that you're going to eat that outside, it should be washed or at least rinsed out a little bit.
First thing we're going to do is chop off the ends of the celery and throw them out. And then we'll chop off the top too. Notice that when I'm chopping, I'm making a swaying back and forth motion. This gives you the most control over what you're cutting, and it'll help you to be more efficient in your slices and keep your fingers away so you don't get injured. I'm just going to slowly chop up that celery. With your other hand, you're always going to want to make kind of a claw. This keeps the knife from getting too close to your fingers while still having good control over what you're doing. So now that I've sliced up the celery, I'm going to put it in a bowl. Next, I'm going to chop up the onions. First thing I'm going to do is try and get off the skin that's already peeling off. Once I have my onion peeled, I'm just going to cut some nice slices. They're about 1/4 of an inch thick. I'll go about halfway down my onion. After that, I take my slice of onion and I'm going to cut vertical cuts down the onion. Again, about 1/4 of an inch wide. I'm going to turn my cutting board and I'm going to cut perpendicular to the cuts that I did previously. That will give you a perfect diced onion. And put that in the bowl with the celery because it's going to be simmering with it. And I'll continue doing that for the next 2 slices of onion. I read somewhere that the lighter your eye color, the more it stings when you cut an onion. I don't know if that's true.
Put me in, coach. I've got brown eyes. And convex.
So now I'm going to turn on the oven to medium heat. And I'll be using olive oil to heat up just a little bit, and then I'll put my onion and celery in that olive oil to serve. This recipe calls for 1 to 2 tablespoons of olive oil. You can really use however much you want. Olive oil is really good for you. It is an unsaturated fat, high in omega-3s and 6s. So if you like a little bit of extra olive oil or a little bit less, it's up to you. I put enough olive oil in to make sure that I've coated the bottom of the pot. And then I do a little swirl around. Then we put our onion and celery in. You should hear it start to sizzle right away. A little tip for when you put olive oil in the pan. Don't have the pan too hot before you put the olive oil in. Olive oil, unlike other oils like canola oil or vegetable oil, has a lower smoke point, which means that it can burn easier. So make sure that the pan or pot is hot to the touch, but not so scalding hot that it's going to burn your oil, because you can taste that in the flavor of the food that you make. So now we're just going to let this simmer in the pot for probably 1 to 3 minutes, depending on how long it takes for the onion to start looking translucent or see-through. Kayla, my sous chef, will help me stir while I chop up the garlic. You always want to put garlic in second, because you're chopping it into such small pieces. It can burn a lot faster than the amount of time it takes for the onion to get translucent. So put that in second.
Hey Jenny, what if we're not as skilled with our knife skills as you are, and we need an easier alternative to freshly chopped garlic?
So you can use garlic. It comes in a jar, and it's pre-chopped at the store. Usually it's about $2 to $3 a jar. And it works just as well. There's a little bit difference in flavor, but it'll still give you that garlicky flavor that you're looking for.
There's also a fun garlic press, right? It's called a garlic press.
Oh yeah, you can get a garlic press, and with those, you just stick the garlic clove in the press and push it through, and it makes it all nice and chopped. All right, I've removed the garlic from the clove, and I will show you guys how to peel your garlic easier. Be careful if you're not as experienced with a knife. Maybe don't try this at home. So you're going to put your knife flat down on the garlic clove, and with the palm of your hand, push down, and it's crushed my garlic, and then it makes it really easy to just pull right out. And then I'm going to cut away the part where the clove attaches to the rind of the garlic ball. And now that this garlic is nice and crushed, it makes it really easy to chop it up really fine. You have a lot more control over the garlic. It's not rolling around. And you just kind of run your knife through it. I like to stick one hand at the end of the knife while my chopping hand is still on the handle of the blade. And you kind of anchor the knife and just go back and forth. And I'm going to do 2 cloves of garlic for this. So again, have my clove, put my blade flat down on the clove, and with the palm of my hand, crush it. And it pulls right out. Then we cut off the rind and chop through. Okay. Kayla has these onions looking nice and translucent. It's a perfect time to put in our garlic. This is a good time to season our onion and celery and garlic. I'm just going to put in some black pepper. And sea salt. You don't have to use sea salt, it's just what I had. And you can follow exactly how many teaspoons the recipe calls for. If you like more pepper or less pepper, more salt or less salt, that's up to you. This is not something you exactly have to follow.
And since you're making it for yourself, you can taste as you go. It's always better to add less than more, so that way you can just add more later.
So now that our onions are looking nice and translucent and the garlic is getting a good aromatic flavor indicating that they've been cooked, we're going to start adding our vegetable stock. You can also use chicken broth, you can use beef broth, that's up to you. If you are vegetarian or vegan, I would go with the vegetable, but that is interchangeable. Whatever you have in the house will work.
Another great way, if you don't have any vegetable stock on hand, or you just feel like you won't use it as quickly, there's bouillon cubes. You can still get in the vegetable broth that you can have in your pantry at all times. And all you have to do is add a cup of water per cube or per tablespoon, depending on the type you get. And you have any sort of flavored broth instantly, so that they have any chicken, beef, or vegetable.
The recipe calls for 4 cups of vegetable broth. Each of these cartons is about 2 cups. So if you have 2, you'll be all set for this recipe. Next, I'm going to add 2 cups of tomato juice. You can use V8, you can use tomato juice, you can use some of the different seasoned tomato juices, which are really good too. I chose this one because it was the cheapest. I also did a nice shake before I poured, just to make sure I was getting a good consistency. All right, next I'm going to peel my potato. Okay, my potato is peeled. Just so you know, if you do like the taste of potato peel, it actually is really, really high in fiber and iron. So you really should keep it on if you don't mind. I chose to take it off, but everyone's different. I'm going to chop the potato up into little 1-inch pieces. I want them to be big enough so they don't disintegrate into the soup, but small enough so they can fit into your mouth. For this recipe, we also chose to use fresh fruits. We're going to be adding tomato and baby carrots. You don't have to do these ingredients. You can choose to put frozen veggies in as well. And frozen veggies actually have the same exact nutritional content as fresh veggies. If you have canned veggies available, that's a great option also.
What kind of vegetables could we put in there?
You can put in green beans, peas, corn, carrots, kale, spinach, cauliflower, broccoli, any vegetables that you like.
I love when soups can do that. It's kind of like put whatever's in your pantry, slash in your fridge, slash in your freezer, right in a bowl of soup.
I put the potatoes in a bowl before putting them into the pot so they don't splash up on my hand. You can also put beans in this, noodles, and you can put chicken, you can put beef, you can put pork, whatever you'd like. Same with the tomatoes as I did with the potatoes. I'm gonna cut them into 1-inch pieces. Again, this is big enough so that it doesn't disintegrate, but small enough that it'll still fit in your mouth. Last thing I'm gonna put in is the baby carrots. I'm gonna cut them in half just so it takes a little bit less time for them to get nice and soft. Kayla, what are some nutritional benefits of this soup?
Well, depending on which vegetables you choose to put in your soup, there's a ton of different nutrients from each of those vegetables. We've got lots of nice little carbs from those potatoes, or you can substitute potatoes for noodles and still get some more carbs in there. That'll fuel your brain. It's really that vegetable content that's really gonna stand out in this recipe. This is such a good way to get all of your vegetables in your diet or in your daily diet for the day. Yeah, it really just depends. Whatever your favorite veggie is, there's gonna be a ton of nutrients involved with that. A great thing to do is change it up every single time you make it. So if you make it, either put a ton of different vegetables, so you're getting a ton of different nutrients and a nice balance of those nutrients, or if you put carrots and potatoes in today's soup, and then maybe next week's soup or the week after that, you put some peas, carrots, corn, spinach, right? Just change it up on yourself. Make it exciting.
Vegetables are also really high in a lot of vitamins and trace minerals. And these vitamins and trace minerals are important for our body to function properly. A lot of them our body can produce on their own, but they need at least 50% of their recommended daily intake to come from the diet rather than from our own body. So it's really important that we eat it so we can function properly, especially in times like these where I know you're all working really hard. The last thing I'm gonna do, and this is just a personal choice for me, is I'm gonna put some Italian seasoning in it, just for a little bit of extra flavor. I'm gonna put about a tablespoon of Italian seasoning. And another tablespoon of oregano, because it is my favorite herb. It's always important to put the herbs in at the end so they don't burn. If you burn your herbs, they actually can get bitter. All right, and now we're gonna let this simmer for about 30 minutes. That'll give enough time for the carrots and the potatoes to get soft, and then it's ready to go. Okay, it's been about 30 to 40 minutes, and our soup is done. Ways to know that it's done is the fork check. So you would take a fork, and it should be able to pierce a potato and a carrot very, very easily. That's how you know those are cooked up and ready to go. Others than that, we're ready. Dig in.
Thank you for joining us this week on Tasty Tuesday. Join us next week for a fun little dip spread that we're gonna do. We're gonna show you some fun recipes to have for any sort of social distance gathering, sports nights, or just a nice study snack recipe for you while you're studying for your midterms. See you next week. Bye.
Good night.